Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
Everyone, welcome to the All New Marvel Roundup, your review of the weekly Marvel Comics with me, Phil, and with Charlie.
That's me. Early yesterday.
Alright, let's jump right in. We'll start with the stuff the other one didn't read. I'll start with Iron Fist number 10. Once again, Danny Rand is fighting the monster with his father's face. A lot of splash pages, a lot of, it's one big fight scene until the end when the creature opens a portal when a big flaming figure comes walking through. So, I don't know. I think I'm giving this one a,
You can give it a thumbs down if you really didn't like it. We're allowed to do that.
I think I'll give it a thumb to the side like you did last week with Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Just a couple punches thrown, and then it's like, well, look what's coming next month.
Yeah. Well, with Fantastic Four, I liked that issue last week. I didn't like the stupidity of the world's smartest man. I didn't like, So I mean, overall, I liked the story, but it was like, why are you doing that? So, Phil, if you didn't like the story, just say I did not like the story this week.
They just could have given me a lot more story.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
So, I'll give that a thumbs to the side. Whatever. Alright, next was, Return of the Living Deadpool number 2. This one picked up a little bit from the first issue. Deadpool's helping some of the survivors rescue, some of their family from, the Deadpool gang, been kidnapping people. They were on a train when Deadpool, jumps aboard. And what he figures out is the Deadpools want to create more of themselves, so they find innocent victims and they feed them to the zombies, and then turn the zombies into the Deadpools.
Crazy.
Yes, it's very, very crazy. Like I said, a little more action, a little more humor than last issue, so I'm going to give Return of the Living Deadpool number 2 thumbs up.
Great. Yay, Deadpool.
And, let's see, the last one I read that you didn't read was All New Hawkeye number 1. This was a pretty good one. We get, it's Clint and, Kate, they're teaming up against, Hydra. Mm-hmm. They keep saying Maria Hill sent them in to, find some, I don't know, some extra top secret weapon that Hydra had, something really powerful, but at first they're like, oh no, she could have just sent any old S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in to find this, but then at the end, Kate finds some, it looks almost like deformed children in a, tank, but I don't know if that's what they are, with their heads hooked up to wires, yeah.
Oh! I wonder if that's Ms. Marvel had not like new, but Carol Danvers when she had a series there. She was going up against AIM, and they had a bunch of. They were basically I think they were supposed to be like Dream Machine babies hooked up to wires, or maybe they were like mini Modocs or something, and but basically they would influence reality. So that might be a tie-in to this. Interesting.
Now you mention it, yeah, I think I may remember that. But Yeah, big thumbs up. And between like the pages of the story, they also had like flashbacks to Clint's childhood with his brother, and them running away from like foster homes and stuff.
And they ran off and joined the circus.
Yeah,
they cried.
No, at the end they showed them like actually coming up on the circus. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, All New Hawkeye #1, big thumbs up. I recommend it to everyone.
Great.
So, Charlie, what did you read?
Okay, well, let's start off with our our one MCU tie-in, which was Antman Prelude #2. And it was okay. I mean, it's here's what I'll say about it. I don't think you're going to be lost in seeing the Ant-Man film without seeing this. I don't think there's going to be that much of a reference back to this. It was nice seeing Peggy Carter. It was nice to seeing Howard Stark in there, and then building out that MCU 1950s universe. But there's not much there. I mean, he finds the MacGuffin plans, which turn out to be the mind wiping machine that we see Hydra using in Winter Soldier. So there's like a little Winter Soldier tie-in, which is great. Him finding that and him stealing it just emphasizes like kind of how pointless this whole mission is. Because, well, no, they still had the machine. Because he's like, oh, I stole the plans, and I'm keeping them because that's sort of Hank Pym's big thing here. He's very much sort of like it tying into the Howard Stark and his bad babies, and he doesn't know no one should have these things. Hank Pym is very much into that. He's like, well, he won't let anyone have the Pym particles because he's the only one he trusts with them. And likewise, here he's. He says, I'm going to keep the device. But the thing is, he stole the plans, but we know that Hydra already has actually a working model of this machine. So I guess he kept it out of the Stasi's hands, so the East German government doesn't have it. But Hydra still has it, and it works just fine because they're already using it on Winter Soldier. In the grand scheme of things, it kind of points out that it doesn't have much of an effect. So Hank Pym's Ant-Man career, at least as it's depicted here, as his first adventure, it doesn't seem to have that much of an effect on the overall MCU. But obviously it can't. The Hank Pym superhero has to be this quiet, unseen character that because of course otherwise everyone would say, oh yes, remember Ant-Man, which comes to be sort of the soft spot in the whole pre-Iron Man era of superheroes, which is that how many superheroes can they really put in the past before people can ask, well, what happened to all the superheroes by the time Iron Man shows up? So, but it was a decent story. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. Just a mild thumbs up. It's fine. It's good. If you're a completist, you certainly will pick it up. If you're not a completist, don't worry about not picking it up. Like I said, you're not going to be lost in the film without it. You get to see. It has some good action. You get to see, as we saw in the in some of the earlier test footage for Ant-Man, the whole shrink fu, as they say, where he's shrinking down and throwing people and becoming big again to punch people. There's some great artwork of that, and so that's great. And you get to see, how it's a good primer for how the Ant-Man powers can be used. But its overall importance to the storyline is probably minimal, especially, as I said, because we know that Hydra still had the device. The Russians clearly still had the device, and they had a working model that was used on the Winter Soldier. And that's always the problem when you're stealing back the plans, is that, unless you're Professor Erskine, who's so paranoid you're keeping the formula a secret to everyone, most scientists make more than one copy of their plans, and they, make sure you send, and especially if you're a military organization, you always do it in triplicate, one for here, one for the home base, and one to burn to the enemy doesn't get it. So, yes. So that was Ant-Man. Ant-Man Prelude that's an old MASH joke. That's a Hawkeye Pierce joke. To tie it back to Hawkeye. So that was Antman Prelude number 2. Very, very, it's fun, it's enjoyable, but one could be very critical of it. Next, we go into Operation Sin. I believe this was issue 3 of Operation Sin, where we've got young Ursa Major and the gang, Woodrow and Howard and Peggy and I believe Tanya, the young Russian girl, as they continue to search for the MacGuffin, which is, as it turns out, a gigantic crystal alien ship. We find out that the Hydra has basically is paying the Soviets in this book for dissenter scientists to use as slave labor on some device, I guess, to find this spaceship, and then, of course, Howard Stark turns on the spaceship and it homes in on the location, and that's where it leaves us for next week. We find out in this issue that one of the dissenting scientists' wives is actually an alien, some sort of magical energy being who obviously was piloting the ship and decided to stay in Russia with the guy. So it's interesting. It's a little slow, but not a bad story. It's great to see Peggy moving about. I definitely think the second issue was kind of stronger. Definitely a stronger character issue for Peggy and everyone else. This was kind of it's definitely the bridge issue before we get into some big storyline that's going to wrap up next month. But not I'm sure you'll be lost next issue if you didn't read this one. So it's definitely a must get if you're if you want to know what's going on. But as far as a standalone story, it needs the bookends to really make it worthwhile. Let's see, what else did I read? Next is Avengers World. Yes, Avengers World, which really highlights, I think, the one of the problems when you're jumping back and forth in time with these stories, because this deals with Roberto Sunspot, who in previous issues we found out has purchased AIM and is using AIM scientists to help solve the incursion problem. And in this, and at first I kind of thought this was, okay, this is him telling the story of when he bought AIM. But it seems, looking at it now, after having read it, that no, this is semi-present, and this is actually AIM sort of taking AIM back from him, that they actually were playing the whole time to get his technology. It's a good character piece on Roberto. You get to see a little bit of flashback with him and his dad talking about what a true leader is, and all of that. It was a good story. Had a shout out to previous Avengers World where him and Cannonball basically hung out with some AIM guys all night, drinking, and although I have to say, kind of the youth and immaturity of a character like Sunspot. He did sort of as a young kid, and you get the feeling when Monica Rappaccini does the big reveal. And just prior to this, he was saying, "Oh no, I've hung out with these guys. They're cool." Just like because he once got drunk with a couple AIM scientists, and they weren't insanely evil people. They were just guys doing a job. He decided to make that assumption about all of AIM, and of course they are run by real bona fide supervillains who are quite evil and quite more than happy to exploit him and kill him and kill everybody on his board of directors. So. It's pretty, when you get that reveal at the end, it's pretty intense. You really see in that position of, oh my goodness, what have I done? I've really kind of hurt myself and all of my friends here, and kind of made myself look like a fool. And they leave it off with him, with them using some diabolical device against him and him jumping out the window to save everyone, and we'll see what happens next. I'm going to say big thumbs up on the story. Definitely, definitely worth it, especially if you're trying to follow the whole of the getting ready for the end. Prelude to Secret Wars. Definitely, it's useful, and the Avengers World Charlie, they're character studies as opposed to just. I have action and adventure and all that, but they're really designed to be character studies. They're really designed to be here are these characters and here's who they are. Especially when they're characters that are maybe less known, like Smasher, like Cannonball, like Sunspot, who granted are known, but they're probably much more known to people who are mutant people, and this is becoming Avengers. You know, for people like me who don't, it's really great to see them and have these character studies and have this whole presentation of them. So big thumbs up on Avengers World. They're definitely pulling out the big one for getting into the Secret Wars. Okay, and that brings us to the books we both read.
Yes.
So do you want to do Hulk first, or do you want to just jump right into Avengers?
Let's do Hulk first.
Okay, let's do Hulk first. I think of Hulk. You know, it was a good book while I was reading it. You really see the problem with the AI here, you know, I mean, it's a good book. I'm gonna, you know, yeah, I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the book. There's nothing horrible about the book. There's no major logic flaws or problems. There was one thing that I'll get to that made me go, well, no, what happened with that? But what did you think? What was your take on it?
Well, I probably felt the same way you did. It wasn't setting the world on fire, but I mean, there were some cute scenes, like where, you know, Iron Fist is teaching, Doc Green Kung Fu.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'll say right that I think was like the best part of it, but you don't really get much from it. It's like, oh, okay, I'll teach you how to focus sheet, and are we ever going to go back to that? I mean, it was kind of a, you know, it was a neat lead-in, but I don't know where you go with it from there. And I guess that's the thing. It kind of feels like I kind of honestly was like, oh man, we need 4 more pages in this book. Oh, something at the beginning.
No.
But then, you know, they go and they fight the Gamma Corps, and I mean, you don't get much on the Gamma Corps except that, okay, so the Doc Green AI has invaded, I guess that was a banner on LMD, and it's built himself like a little Redeemer armor, which I like that. A little shout out to the old Redeemer, which was Rockin' Redeemer, the old Hulk busters that the leader saved from the acid.
Oh yeah, I didn't even get that. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. The old Redeemer. No, not till you said that.
That to me looked like what the armor was. That same sort of big glass-headed exposure spot, you know, because you know, when you're in previous battle armor, make sure you have a nice big area where we can see your head, you know. And just make it out of glass so we can see your face the whole time and know right where your most vulnerable spot is. You know, it's it's your comic book logic. But no, and you know, to be honest with you, I'm really not comfortable with the way this Hulk's entire plan of, oh, we got to get rid of all the Gamma people, you know, because it's like, you know, I'm not. First of all, I'm not that intrigued by the concept. Second off, he's clearly missing lots of people. You know, there's been really lots and lots of people that have Gamma since the Hulk got into this, including like an entire city of people that the leader kept in the background. You know, I mean, there's lots of people here, and here was the thing, and this was something that was kind of bothersome to me, is at the very end, Prodigy gets turned back into a human, and he does say, "Is this permanent?" And that's an important thing because Prodigy, prior to that, had severe neurological problems, and I believe was, you know, had mental retardation and things like that. And it's you know, it's you know, and he doesn't seem to have been. seems like he reversed him, but left him with, I guess, fixed up his brain or something so that he doesn't have that anymore. But it just, I don't know, the whole thing just seemed kind of, and that's the other thing. It always seems sort of rapid to wrap it up, and I don't know. I wasn't, the whole depowering storyline in general, it's bothersome to me. I mean, I sort of get why he's doing it, but he also seems to be going after, like, as an example, he's not going after Teen Abomination. He's not going after, people that might actually be doing, dangerous, violent things with their gamma powers,
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I guess I'm just like not sure why he seems to be going after the low-hanging fruit, and they're generally speaking all people who are doing positive things in the Marvel universe. So I'm not quite sure, because for example, he hasn't gone after the leader yet, and we know red leaders out there, and to me that's like, oh, that should be the guy on my list because he is gamma charged and actively being evil. And he's probably one of the few people who could outthink me on this,
Mm-hmm.
So it's in general, I'm not pleased with it. I'm following it through, but I mean, I'm mostly basically I'm interested in seeing Hulk slide into that Dot Green becoming the Maestro kind of plot line. But I guess the story that they've built out for it just seems kind of rushed to me. It just seems, especially this little sideline when down for it. It's like, this was very much a Phil issue. I would much rather see him being much more engaged in going after Ross, which again, that seems like someone that's worth going after. Going after Ross. Okay, I can definitely see going after Ross is a positive thing for the Hulk to do. And he tries it once and then just says, okay, now let's go do something else. It's like, no, that should be your primary arc. He's got to depower Ross. And then going after Betty and A-Bomb, and that also, it just seemed kind of weird. And I really felt that he did something to them mentally with the nanites after that too, that he messed with their brains. He was trying to...
They were okay with it, yeah.
Exactly, and Bruce was never really okay with his powers the hundreds of times he has over the years. You know what? You did something there, Bruce. Or it's just really lazy writing, which sometimes, and I hate to say this, I feel that Hulk has had writers who do really lazy things sometimes. And I mean that's why I stopped reading it right after the World War Hulk things. I just felt that the writing was getting really lazy. There was too many Ex Machina. There was just too much that we're just gonna have this happen and that fixes it. And so this, yeah, I'm gonna go thumbs down on this now. I'm gonna have to, because it's like the more I think about it, and that's the problem, is that the more I'm thinking about it, the more I think this was not worth the $4 I spent for the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, there we go. Our first official thumbs down on this. There was a lot of great scenes, but nothing that makes a good comic.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going with that. See, always think, they'll only give thumbs up. No, there we go. Our first real thumbs down. Now next month is Deadpool, so that automatically is like halfway up already. Just I have Deadpool because everyone loves Deadpool.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that brings us to the big book. This was New Avengers, correct? Because we have
no regular Avengers.
Just right with the Cabal blowing up worlds. Now, what I found interesting in this is that even though it starts on 1610, there really was not much Reed Richards in this. In fact, I don't think there was any Reed Richards. I don't think there was any Ultimate Reed Richards in this. They were at his Citadel, I believe. But I don't think we saw Ultimate Reed Richards in this, did we?
No, we didn't see Ultimate Reed Richards, plus I think we were only on Earth 1610 for 2 pages. It was all Namor talking to Black Swan.
Yeah, which makes me wonder if Ultimate Reed Richards made it out of meeting the Cabal. Not one. And honestly, that was, and the whole, and the scene with Sue, the alternate Sue, on apparently a world where Reed Richards was king, or the Fantastic Four were the rulers of the planet. Which actually, when I first saw that, I thought that was going to be taking place in. There was an alternate well, not an alternate universe. But there was in an episode of one issue of the Fantastic Four during Burns' run, there was basically Central City, California, which is where Reed Richards apparently grew up, according to that story. A big dome appears above it, and this guy basically wanted to set up the world because he was certain the world was going to be destroyed in nuclear war, as we all did back then. Put this big black dome over Central City, and his idea was that time was going to pass slower inside the dome than outside the dome, and so after the nuclear war happened, they'd be able to emerge and rebuild the world. But of course, he got to carry the two, and time passed faster inside the dome. So when the Fantastic Four go into it, it's like all these people, then they're like, thousands of years into their future, and they're all worshiping the Fantastic Four, and there's like they have these genetically engineered soldiers who are based off the Fantastic Four. So you have these little imps that can burst into flame, these big guys who just go clobber time, and smash things. And so then that was interesting. And at first I thought, they're them. And what Reed does at the end of that is he sends them into the future, hoping, well, maybe they're not going to seem so weird in the future, which is classic Reed. It's like, well, this might work. Let's turn them into cows.
Let's just get rid of the problem.
Yeah. So speaking of lazy writing, but what so at first I thought, that's going to be it, but it was just an alternate universe with the regular Fantastic Four just worshipped as royalty, or were perhaps royalty prior to getting powers. And of course, Namor kills Reed Richards in that world, which, okay, why not? Not for nothing. I do have to say this. It seems like, any non-616 superhero just seems so weak. It just seems like, well, if we're on this non-616 world, we can all, they're just going to, one Namor is going to take out the entire Fantastic Four. Even though, like, on 616 world, one Namor has never even gotten close to that, so I don't know if the Reed Richards are just dumber on other worlds or what exactly the plotline is, but, having him, and that's the thing, exactly how Namor, like, defeats Reed, kills Reed Richards is kind of weird to me, because, unless he has some sort of a knife that can pierce rubber skin, if you're basically a broad, which is what, for the most part, he is, if he's punching Reed Richards, that doesn't have a lot of effect on him. So, but we're going to go with it. We're going to go with it. And he killed that Reed Richards, and then actually Proxima kills Sue Storm as Namor's macking on her after he killed her husband, because Namor's not well in the head. I think we can. No. I think we can agree with this. Namor is not well in the head, and
no.
I know he thinks he's all cool and like a noble guy, but yeah, it's not right. So we're building up here, and this is again a good character study. It's a good character study through to see where Namor is intellectually, where the Black Swan is. We don't really get a lot of other characters in this one, for the most part, which is probably for the best, because, really, how interesting is the Cabal? They're, violent sociopaths destroying things,
Well, we got Reed and T'Challa making the what do you want to call it?
Well, they're building the Secret Wars ring, yes.
The lifeboat.
All wrapped up in the Namor stuff, but I completely forgot about everything else that happened in the book. And that's a big deal, because Reed and Black Panther have, with the help of Valeria, have decided to build essentially one of the Secret Wars rings, which if you remember the first Secret Wars, these big rings appeared in Central Park, and a bunch of superheroes said, "Hey, what's going on here? What is this thing?" And they all walk in, and then it just zips them over to Battle World. They've sort of rebuilt one of these things, or at least they've built what they are calling the lifeboat, and it looks a lot like it. Whether or not that it's the same basic design, that's what's going to travel them out of the world, or if it is, or if it's intentionally they're trying to rebuild what the Beyonder had built for them. Now, and to me, this is the darkest moment in it, is you have Reed and T'Challa discussing, who should we allow to live? And of course, they're just, of course we're going to need, multidisciplinary scientists. It's like completely the most, the most fascist, monstrous things is what they're saying and talking about here with the most cold logic, and not for nothing. It's the most short-sighted plan you're ever going to hear. If you're going to have a society filled with scientists, and no one's gonna take up the trash. It's gulch all over again. It's just a bunch of architects and businessmen, and then say, okay, so who's gonna grow our food? No, so there you go. So that was my rant on Reed Richards and T'Challa deciding who lives and who dies. Because it's, I tell you, every time I see these guys, it just reminds me more and more. Cap was right. These are not the people you want in charge of what happens to humanity. Because you know why? Because Reed Richards is the kind of guy that would just randomly leave bombs on his way to meet the Quiet Man, and not think what's going to happen when all these bombs start blowing up. Because he doesn't think ahead. He's so certain of his own intellect that he doesn't think ahead, and that is, it is, he is lucky he has the love of good friends and family. That's the only thing that keeps him from being a supervillain. And not for nothing, we see this in a lot of alternate universes where Reed gets defeated so easily, because it's usually a place where he doesn't have his family around him, and he is just Dr. Doom level of, I'm so certain of everything I am doing as being right that I'm going to make a lot of stupid mistakes. And that's how Namor defeats him at the beginning of this book. No doubt, it all together. And that's our read.
So do you give it a thumb? What do you give it?
A thumbs up. It's still a great book. It's still a good book. And like I say, it really brings home the problems with the Illuminati. What the problem was with this elite group of superhumans setting themselves up to be the de facto rulers of the world. For what it's worth, with Woodrow McCord, who did something similar when they created the original Sin story. He was a cold-blooded, merciless killer, but he wasn't trying to rule the world. He was just doing his job. Yeah. And here, the problem.
Wait. Let's go into more detail on superconnectivity.
Okay. Yeah. Well, got a lot to do on superconnectivity too, man.
I love teasing people. You want to hear more?
So come back to superconnectivity, and we're going to talk more about how these superheroes are a menace.
That's right. But
that's my next phrase. They're a menace.
So for more in-depth information, tune in to Superconnectivity later this week. And if you want to get a hold of us, you can get a hold of me at nightwingpdp@gmail.com, or on Twitter, I'm at nightwingpdp.
And of course, I'm superconnectivityblog@gmail.com and at Charlie Esser on Twitter, because I'm the first Charlie Esser there. Yay me! First! Get to post first every time. And this has been the All New Marvel Roundup.
That's right. Come back next week for more reviews, because remember, in 2 months, time runs out. See you on Battle World.